Good morning. It's Tuesday, January 30th, the fifth week of 2024. We're reading my Granddaddy's Bible today in Leviticus chapter 4 of offerings for sins and of ignorance. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Say to the children of Israel, the soul that sinneth through ignorance, and doth anything concerning any of the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded not to be done, if the priest that is anointed shall sin, making the people to offend, he shall offer to the Lord for his sin a calf without blemish. And he shall bring it to the door of the testimony before the Lord, and shall put his hand upon the heap thereof, and shall sacrifice it to the Lord. He shall take also of the blood of the calf, and carry it into the tabernacle of the testimony. And having dipped his finger in the blood, he shall sprinkle with it 7 times before the Lord, before the veil of the sanctuary. And he shall put some of the same blood upon the horns of the altar of the sweet incense, most acceptable to the Lord, which is in the tabernacle of the testimony. And he shall pour all the rest of the blood at the foot of the altar of the holocaust in the entry of the tabernacle. And he shall take off the fat of the calf for the sin offering, as well that which covereth the entrails, as all the innards, the 2 little kidneys, and the caul that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the fat of the liver with the little kidneys, as it is taken off from the calf of the sacrifice of peace offerings. And he shall burn them upon the altar of the holocaust. But the skin and all the flesh, with the head and the feet and the bowels and the dung, and the rest of the body, he shall carry forth without the camp into a clean place, where the ashes are wont to be poured out. And he shall burn them upon a pile of wood. They shall be burnt in the place where the ashes are poured out. And if all the multitude of Israel shall be ignorant, and through ignorance shall do that which is against the commandment of the Lord, and afterwards shall understand their sin, they shall offer for their sin a calf, and shall bring it to the door of the tabernacle. And the ancients of the people shall put their hands upon the head thereof before the Lord, and the calf being immolated in the sight of the Lord. The priest that is anointed shall carry the blood into the tabernacle of the testimony, and shall dip his finger in it and sprinkle it 7 times before the veil. And he shall put of the same blood on the horns of the altar that is before the Lord in the tabernacle of the testimony. And the rest of the blood he shall pour at the foot of the altar of the holocaust, which is at the door of the tabernacle of testimony. And all the fat thereof he shall take off, and shall burn it upon the altar, doing so with this calf, as he did also with that before. And the priests praying for them, the Lord will be merciful unto them. But the calf itself he shall carry forth without the camp, and shall burn it as he did the former calf, because it is for the sins of the multitude. If a prince shall sin, and through ignorance do any of the things that the law of the Lord forbiddeth, and afterwards shall come to know his sin, he shall offer a buck goat without blemish, a sacrifice to the Lord. And he shall put his hand upon the head thereof, and when he hath immolated it in the place where the holocaust is wont to be slain before the Lord, because it is for sin, the priest shall dip his finger in the blood of the victim for sin, touching therewith the horns of the altar of holocaust, and pouring out the rest at the foot thereof. But the fat he shall burn upon it, as it is wont to be done with the victims of peace offerings. And the priest shall pray for him, and for his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. And if any one of the people of the land shall sin through ignorance, doing any of those things that by the law of the Lord are forbidden, and offending, and shall come to know his sin, he shall offer a she-goat without blemish, And he shall put his hand upon the head of the victim that is for sin, and shall immolate in the place of the holocaust. And the priest shall take of the blood with his finger, and shall touch the horns of the altar of holocaust, and shall pour out the rest at the foot thereof. But taking off all the fat, as is wont to be taken away of the victims of peace offerings, he shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savour to the Lord. And he shall pray for him, and it shall be forgiven him. But if he offer of the flock of a victim for his sin, to wit, an ewe without blemish, he shall put his hand upon the head thereof, and shall immolate it in the place where the victims of holocaust are wont to be slain. And the priest shall take the blood thereof with his finger, and shall touch the horns of the altar of the holocaust. And the rest he shall pour out at the foot thereof. All the fat also he shall take off, as the fat of the ram that is offered for peace offerings is wont to be taken away, and shall burn it upon the altar for a burnt sacrifice of the Lord. And he shall pray for him and his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. Chapter 5. Of other sacrifices for sins. If any one sin, and hear the voice of one swearing, and is a witness either because he himself hath seen, or is privy to it, if he do not utter it, he shall bear his iniquity. Whosoever toucheth any unclean thing, either that which hath been killed by a beast, or died of itself, or any other creeping thing, and forgetteth his uncleanness, he is guilty, and hath offended. And if he touch anything of the uncleanness of man, according to any uncleanliness wherewith he is wont to be defiled, and having forgotten it, come afterwards to know it, he shall be guilty of an offense. The person that sweareth and uttereth with his lips that he would do either evil or good, and bindeth the same with an oath and his word, and having forgotten it, afterwards understandeth his offense. Let him do penance for his sin, and offer of the flocks an ewe lamb or a she-goat, and the priest shall pray for him and for his sin. But if he not be able to offer a beast, let him offer 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons to the Lord, one for sin and the other for a holocaust. And he shall give them to the priest, who shall offer the first for sin, and twist back the head of it to the turtle, to the little pinions, so that it stick to the neck, and be not altogether broken off. And of its blood he shall sprinkle the side of the altar, and whatsoever is left he shall let it drop at the bottom thereof, because it is for sin. And the other he shall burn for a holocaust, as is wont to be done. And the priest shall pray for him, and for his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. And if his hand be not able to offer 2 turtles, or 2 young pigeons, he shall offer for his sin the 10th part of an ephah of flour. He shall not put oil upon it, nor put any frankincense thereon, because it is for sin. And he shall deliver it to the priest, who shall take a handful thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar for a memorial of him that offered it, praying for him, and making atonement. But the part that is left he himself shall have for a gift. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, If any one shall sin through mistake, transgressing the ceremonies and those things that are sacrificed to the Lord, he shall offer for his offense a ram without blemish, out of the flocks that may be bought for 2 sickles, according to the weight of the sanctuary. And he shall make good the damage itself which he hath done, and he shall add the 5th part, besides delivering it to the priest, who shall pray for him, offering the ram, and it shall be forgiven him. If any one sin through ignorance, and do one of those things which by the law of the Lord are forbidden, and being guilty of sin understand his iniquity, he shall offer of the flocks a ram without blemish to the priest, according to the measure and estimation of the sin, and the priest shall pray for him, because he did it ignorantly, and it shall be forgiven him, because by mistake he trespassed against the Lord. This concludes our reading for today in Leviticus. We'll begin tomorrow with chapter 6. Thank you for joining me. Have a blessed day.